Okay, so basically I want to speak about something very different. The only thing what is common between Mate's presentation and mine presentation is the human, the people, basically the target group. The target group is common because also from the technical point of view, also from the social point of view, the target group, it's represented by us, the people, the humans, the citizens, so on and so on. Of course, the subject is a little bit different and maybe is not so, how to say, familiar to students who are learning about ICTs, technology, several technologies, so on. But I try to build up this presentation in a way that we will reach only some, how to say, some basic elements, from the so-called field or domain where I'm active. Civic integration and multiculturalism, daily challenges in the European social space. So the presentation is coming from Oradea, the University of Oradea, and it represents mainly a personal point of view based on the research that I did in the past 4 or 5 years. Good. The lecture outline, what I want to present you in these 70 minutes. First of all, I want to tell you about the reason of the lecture, why we need this. Actually, first of all, why we need it in the project and why we need it generally. Second, identity. Of course, I believe that is very, very important to establish what is identity, and actually all of us to know what is identity for us. Multiculturalism, it will be one, how to say, tool of integration what I want to present. Civic integration will be the second tool what I want to present, and EU funds for integration will be the third tool. Can you hear me? I just quit F5 because I see no faces, and sometimes is it okay for you if I?
Yes, we can hear you.
But is it okay for you if I quit F5 in order to see some also some feedback, so like face feedback, something like this? Do you know what I mean?
I think colleagues, they switched off the cameras.
Okay, good.
So
in this case, we come back to F5. Just a sec. Good. So let's start. Why we need this course? First of all, it's not presented on the or in the slide, but actually I'm very happy that I can be part of this now. We have the SmartSoc, but before we had the TeamSoc, SUSComTech, InnoSoc, so on, several. Peter presented us yesterday the long story, the long history of this partnership, of this big multilateral partnership. And I'm very happy that somebody, some decision maker at the agency, at the European agency, was thinking about, come on, let's introduce some soft skills, some social skills also in the technical field. So that's why, first of all, because the so-called guide of the program asked or requested some soft skills, some social skills. That's why this lecture is necessary, and let's say I believe it's also useful in the project. The second thing is much more related to our day-to-day life. As you can see on the slide, the economy expands, and it's becoming increasingly more global. Also, the society and workplaces are more diverse than even than ever before. Nowadays, of course, in the past 6 months, I need to add this. I was thinking about this yesterday in the evening, that all my presentation somehow is not actual if we are checking it in the context of the past 6 months. I mean, everybody is shutting down, everybody's closing. There are no physical personal meetings. We don't have the personal interaction anymore. We are using all kind of tools and platforms like like the Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Skype or Cisco WebEx, so on, several things. I mean, all these ICT tools, if I can call these, they are replacing our personal interaction, and replacing all this personal interaction, it will cut back somehow from the importance of the social skills, integration, understanding, multicultural, so on, so on, so on. So basically, please try to understand my presentation for the future, because I believe, and I believe that all this pandemic will pass, and we will get back our, how to say, normal and real life, and we will meet again, we will travel again, we will, how to say, we will touch again and interact again. So the first thing was related to the economy, which expands. The second was related to the society and the workplaces, which are becoming more diverse and global. To succeed in a way or in another in a multicultural workplace, it is essential that you are able to work with and adapt to work styles and habits of people of varying ages and cultural identities. Somehow this is true and false again, because if you are focusing only on some sectors where the research and the work is mainly individual, you don't need to show all these skills. But more and more, if you check big multinational companies or anything, I mean, their offices, their, how to say, plans and how they work with people, you will see that this interaction is working and is necessary to understand and to adapt to different work styles. Also, to be successful job candidate, you must be able to demonstrate the sensitivity and awareness to other people and cultures. Between 2008 and 2010, I used to work for a big multinational company at the HR department, and I joined several job interviews from entry-level people, but also for very, very skilled second, third level technicians or how to say, very well qualified people. And over the professional and the technical things which were compulsory and made us HR people to focus on, we always had a 10% so-called social skill thing, what we were supposed to check to every candidate. So basically, I can recommend to future employees, actual students, that please focus a little bit on this sensitivity and awareness on the so-called cultural and social things. So mainly this would be the reasons why I do this lecture, why we need this lecture, and so on. Globalization, mobility, and desire for employees to have an international career brought to the attention of companies from Europe the topic called management of cultural differences. It's a very interesting issue, which is, I can tell you, it's happening also in Romania. Back in the early 2007, 2008, 2009, when Romania joined the EU and the big multinational companies appeared in the country, they were, how to say, they were behaving totally different, in a totally different way as they behaved in Western European countries. We used to say that these were the so-called Balkanic multinational companies, because just imagine they build big headquarters in Romania, but they made these headquarters, for example, without windows, and they look like factories, even if they were, I mean, doing services, IT services or so, things like this. So they were behaving very differently, and they were not focusing at all on the so-called, how to say, social aspects. Nowadays, things changed a lot. Probably also the lack of specialists on the labor market made these companies to behave a little bit different and to, how to say, to appreciate more the individual, the value of the individual. Through this, making the so-called individual, the specialist, to stay more at the company and and do a better job. Organization can be heterogeneous, multicultural, on multiple lines: gender, race, ethnicity, and religion. Nowadays, not only unofficially, also officially, these are the four main pillars through which we are, categorize a group of people: gender, race, ethnicity, religion. Of course, every pillar has several parts, but today we will speak only about gender, race, ethnicity, and religion. This is the picture now. Actually, we are a little bit more than 7 billion.
I can't see the slides. Maybe you should share the slides again. I only see faces, so I'm not sure if I'm the only one.
It's okay now?
No, I only see faces.
Same here. I also only see faces.
I shared it again. Now?
No.
I'm keep sharing it.
We are keeping not watching.
I keep sharing the desktop. I don't know if now.
No.
Now?
Yes, maybe.
Now.
Yes, now.
Yeah.
Now
It's okay. Good. Just please tell me if something went wrong. Sometimes I'm in a hotel right now, and sometimes the internet may be weaker. So please just write me or tell me, and I will try to fix the problem. Good. This is the picture now. I mean, we are a little bit more than 7 billion, and it's growing. Generally speaking, this is a problem. I mean, this high number is a problem. Focusing on different continents, countries, it's not a problem. Actually, we can do it more. I don't want to speak about replacement level too much, but I just want to show students how this replacement level looks like. So if you check the 50s and the 2000, this is valid for Western societies. Nowadays in Europe, especially Western Europe, the replacement level is 2.1. So every woman is supposed to deliver 2.1 children to keep the so-called replacement level. We are not speaking here about migration, no other processes and issues, only the birth rate. You can check what's happened in the 50s, and you can check what's happening in the 2000s. I mean, even until nowadays. This is for Western Europe, and this is for especially the sub-Saharan Africa. Yes. This is for the sub-Saharan Africa. We have nowadays, after 2000, we have 5.1 kids. As I told you, somehow this is good. On the other side, is not good. Okay. Introduction to the course. It is very important to understand why we need to develop and why we need to work on these so-called integration processes, what we need to use, what we need to develop more, and what is more feasible for us. A trend that appears frequently in public debate in recent years concerns the future and the destiny of the so-called United Europe. From the cultural approach of the European integration, the relationship between national and European level, the relationship between the national cultures in the European space, and let's say the possibility to emergence of a European cultural identity with supranational character. Mainly, this is European Union, a supranational body. Therefore, in the lecture, I would like to start from an assertion according to which Europe is faced with the dilemma of multiculturalism versus or against civic integration, aiming to examine whether the model of multiculturalism can be viable, given that the European public space become a geopolitical environment, and also experiencing a new institutional arrangement between nation state and the paradigm of coexistence of cultural differences. So maybe you can feel that it's a little bit complicated, dear students, but just to understand in 2 sentences. Europe, it's a conglomerate of countries and cultures. It was built up from different nations, different cultures, and but it was built up to be a kind of a supranational over the state body, which is taking decisions for everybody. Nowadays, because of the, how to say, the differences, the cultural differences, the perceptions, mainly the perceptions, this decision-making process is not working always very well. I hope that is clear. The first objective of the lecture is to familiarize the students, I told you at the beginning, with the basic notions and some explanatory models used in the study of multiculturalism, and also the phenomenon of, let's say, ethnocultural diversity and its consequence in the contemporary world. The second objective is to present financial instruments at EU level, which are in the support of member states and the civil society, enhancing their capacity to develop, implement, monitor, and evaluate integration strategies. But not only, also policies and measures, as well as their exchanges of information and best practices and cooperation on integration issues. This is the keyword you will see. We will have a slide with keywords, but this is the main keyword: integration. Integration. If we can integrate well, it doesn't matter what kind of, actually it matters, but don't understand me pejoratively. If we use the right tool for integration and integration works, then everything will work. But before we start to integrate the new ones or the different ones, first, if you're able to say who are we and what we want to do, just check yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who are you? Believe me, sometimes it's very difficult to answer. Sometimes it's very, especially for a young student who is developing also, or a young person who is working in a big multinational company. Sometimes it's very difficult to identify who are we and from which point of view we need to consider this. I told you at the beginning, gender, race, religion, and ethnicity. This can help you to identify yourself. But mainly, I picked 5 definitions of the identity, how we identify ourselves. The ranking is not, I mean, the first one is not the most important. I just made the ranking. So the first one, identity is people's concept of who they are, of what sort of people they are, and how they relate to others. This can be, for the first, how to say, for the first meeting, this can be a good definition. But after you hear also the other definitions, you will decide which is more applicable for you. The second one, identity is used to describe the way individuals and groups define themselves, and they are defined by others on the basis of race, ethnicity, religion, language, or culture. I believe this is the most simple thing. I'm sorry, just 1 minute. Give me please just one.
Okay, I will use this short break to remind to the students they have 2 activities concerning the day 4, intercultural communication and collaboration, with the colleagues Catherine and Alison from EMT Atlantic. So don't forget, we received already 5 submissions from 5 students for activity 2. Deadline was yesterday, and today is the second deadline for activity 1. So please go to the Moodle and visit the course Intercultural Communication and Collaboration and read instructions.
Hey,
Thank you for your attention.
Sorry, but somebody was knocking on the door, very powerful, and anyways, I mean, just sorry for this small break. So the second definition of identity, I believe this is the most, how to say, feasible and most easy to understand. Who are you? First of all, race, second, ethnicity, religion, language, and culture. But mainly, Europeans identify their, Eastern and Central Europeans identify themselves based on language and religion. Western Europeans mainly identify themselves based on race and also ethnicity. This is also a difference between Western and Eastern. The third one, we need to speed it up a little bit, I'm sorry. The third one, identity refers to the ways in which individuals and collectivities are distinguished in their social relations with other individuals and collectivities. In the last slide, just in brackets, let me mention, in the last slide, you will have a detailed bibliography, and you can find all the sources. If you are very interested, just search for the authors and the topics, and you can, from databases, international databases, you can find the sources, the books, and everything, and you can read more about these definitions.
Your microphone is off. Please check your microphone.
Yeah, but since when? Since when it's off? I mean, since I came back?
It's 30 seconds.
Now you can hear me? Which was the last thing?
Microphone of Petra as well, like mic.
Yes, we can see you.
Which was the last thing?
You share a presentation again.
Which was the last thing what you heard?
2 slides before.
You said something about some sources, about some some publications, and then you continue.
So we made the first 3 definitions. The fourth, yes, I don't know how it. I press nothing. Good. National identity describes that condition in which a mass of people have made the same identification with national symbols, have internalized the symbols of the nation. And the fifth one, identities are relatively stable, role-specific understanding and expectations about ourselves. You can choose which one is better for you. I try to create how to say, I try to create a customized one, not only for me, also for the SmartSoc students. A simple answer to the question, what is identity, would be this. It is how one answers the question, who are you? Or my identity is how I define who I am. Good. The European cultural model has a value-based framework based on legality, freedom, equality, fraternity, solidarity, and Christian sentiment of the sacred, which adds to the historical evolution of the three major modern political revolution. This is a little bit, maybe it's hard to understand, but these are mainly the pillars on which Europe was built after the Second World War. Of course, you cannot find the economical objectives, but mainly now we are speaking about the social aspect of Europe and integration. Europe is a conglomerate of national identities whose ethnic, linguistic, mental, religious, and etc. diversity has determined the variety of cultures. Mainly, if you check the 27 states from the European Union and the decision-making process, you will understand that almost all the issues, problems which are happening nowadays in the decision-making process in Europe, at European level, at Council level, for example, are coming from these especially national identities. This problematic nature of the European project is encapsulated somehow in the motto of the European Union, unity in diversity. Peter, until I was out, Peter mentioned Allison's course, and some parts from this presentation can be useful preparing your homework or your your presentation for that course. It can be useful. The concept of European.
Can you share your slides again?
Of course. Come on.
Don't worry, my colleague will then put these breaks out of recorded video.
It's okay now?
No.
Now?
No.
It takes several seconds, but now we don't see slides. Now, probably. Yes, and press F5.
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, let's jump on this unity and diversity. This was the last sentence. Yes, unity and diversity. This is the main motto and the motto of European Union. The concept of European identity expressed rather the idea of unity than the so-called real identity. So mainly what you need to understand is that the creation of European Union, of course, had this objective to create the so-called European identity, but we all need to understand that also a national identity or any type of identity is created in time, step by step. I mean, even if we speak about a 60 or 70-year-old European Union, this is not enough for the creation of a European identity, but it should be enough for the creation of a functional and united structure. If national identity confers to the individual national legitimacy, citizenship is the condition of a decent existence within a state. Also, nationality defines that the individual belongs to an ethnic group. There are several countries, especially Central and Eastern European countries, somehow is the heritage of the First and the Second World War, where we can find several ethnical groups in big national states. Yes, these are the so-called minorities, traditional minorities. Do not confuse it with the citizenship. Belonging to an ethnical group, it's not equal with your citizenship. This is what I'm trying to explain. You can have an ethnical identity and a different national citizenship. Of course, there are states also in Europe where if you have the citizenship, you are also, I mean, you can be an ethnical, but officially is not an existing one. Good. Citizenship refers to all members of the respective state in different of ethnic or regions. This is exactly what I said. The state has the obligation to equally protect all and to secure the rights and the freedoms implied by this status. Okay, and we already reached one of the main tools and instruments or processes, or process as you want, we can call it as you want, multiculturalism. Multiculturalism, which is coming from the other side of the Atlantic, and several, not only scientists or specialists in social fields, also several politicians, in political leadership believe that multiculturalism is the key for success in Europe, especially if we speak about the after 2015 situation, after the big migration wave. So just to know that somehow we have a problem even to identify or to define multiculturalism, because even those who are supporting multiculturalism, they are believing that we can understand this process in different ways. I picked some definitions, and also you will choose the, how to say, the best one, I mean, for you, or what you feel that is better for you. First definition: multiculturalism is the coexistence of diverse cultures where culture includes racial, religious, or cultural groups, and it is manifested in customary behaviors, cultural assumptions, and values, patterns of thinking, and communicative styles. The second definition: in a descriptive sense, multicultural is simply a term which describes the cultural and ethnic diversity of the contemporary world. The third one: as a public policy, multiculturalism encompasses government measures designed to respond to the fastly growing diversity. And it is a policy for managing the consequences of cultural diversity in the interest of the individual and the society as a whole. As a whole, yes. For definition, this is a little bit longer. Multiculturalism can be defined as the practice of giving equal emphasis to the needs and contribution of all cultural groups, especially traditionally underrepresented minority groups in a society. Recent trends have stimulated society members to engage in acts of multiculturalism while learning to appreciate and celebrate the differences among individuals. Diversity encompasses differences in education level, gender, ethnicity, race, age, sexual orientation, religion, socioeconomic background, and psychical ability. Each element of diversity provides for and adds a unique and essential component to benefit society at large. Okay, so these were the definitions. Now let's try to explain all what I presented. Multiculturalism means consisting of individuals from various culturally distinct groups. Yes, different groups. Keywords to keep in mind: it's various and distinct equality. We all come from different backgrounds and we are all raised differently. This is the, how to say, the point or the perception, I believe, with what we can never forget. So dear students, always try to focus. If you are in SmartSoc, if you are if you are Erasmus student, if you are anything, or who is visiting an exotic country, please understand, and this should be the perception from where you start. We all come from different backgrounds and we are all raised differently. Okay, there are two types of equality in a multicultural society. This is a very, very important issue, and it's a also a very important decision, especially where we have a very multicultural job environment, for example, in big companies where we are very different. What to choose? I mean, I am the leadership. What to choose? Which will be the better decision to make the workflow better, to make the environment better? And here we have two main, actually there are several more in the specialty literature, but mainly we will focus on these two, the so-called formal equality and the substantive equality. During the SmartSoc, you are developing startups also, which at the beginning are very, very small, But if your idea is very feasible and functional, maybe you can really deliver something what can grow on the market, and you will have the maybe one day you will have the task to decide how you want to organize your company according to formal equality or according to substantive equality. The formal equality is it's much more used or much often used as the substantive equality. In the next slides, I will present you some advantages and disadvantages. The main advantages of formal equality is that it produces a written set of principles and rules that are followed for all business decisions. When applied universally and without prejudice, a blanket set of rules does not favor any party. Yes, very simple example. We are all starting work at 8 o'clock. We are all working from Mondays to Fridays. It doesn't matter of race, gender, religion. Do you understand? I mean, I believe it's a little bit difficult without feedback, but it's okay. So, what can be disadvantage? Some disadvantages. No deeper understanding of culture. Yes, you don't. I mean, you don't care as a company that, I don't know, you are a Muslim or you are a Jew or you are a Christian or you have free day or you have birthday or you have, I don't know. Feeling disadvantage in the workplace. This can be from the employer point of view. Never reaching the root of inequality. Encouraging and disjointed workplace culture, and this all can lead to uneven results in hiring practices also. Substantive equality. This is more human, it's more focusing on the individuals, you will see. Goes beyond the basics of recognizing equality for all and identifies differences among the group of people with the long-term goal of a greater understanding. Also attempts to remove the systematic advantages afforded to the majority groups, considering differences and try to adjust from them, more rights for individuals and less for majority. There are some workplaces where this can be, how to say, the best process to apply, but there are other type of workplaces where you cannot apply such a thing because it will create an anarchy in the workplace. Multiculturalism from another angle. Oh my God! I have no time anymore. I just okay. I want to jump over this if it's possible because it's a little bit dry theory. What you need to understand that there are 5 main different factors of multiculturalism. The social fact, the ideological fact, a way to understand differences, a necessity, and a process. Here I want to stop a little bit. Our main objective is to develop our multicultural competence, yes? Our multicultural competence, it can be developed only if we understand or we accept this cultural awareness, yes? And this cultural awareness can be how to say functional and natural if we have all these how to say characteristics what we can see in this circle: emotional stability, cultural empathy, open-mindedness, social initiative, flexibility, and self-efficacy. So these are the main things on what we need to focus to develop our cultural awareness and multicultural competence. As an ideology, yes. Multiculturalism in Europe. Nowadays, the EU is facing unprecedented demographic change. We have an aging population, low birth rates, changing family structures, and of course, migration, especially starting from 2015, the big wave of migration. According to the European Commission, it is important both at EU and national level to review and adapt existing policies. Europe was built 60 or 70 years ago. Things changed a lot. I mean, the population, the structure of the society, the world changed a lot. We need to update permanently these laws, rules, and legal framework in which we exist. Key policy responses to manage demographic change, among them receiving and integrating migrants into Europe. You can see here some data for countries. For example, you can choose your country and check the age of the EU population. You can see here the age pyramid also. Okay. You can check all this data. Actually, you can check all this data because you can already find the presentation of the platform. What you need to understand that needs to be explained: ingredients for a successful multicultural environment. To make the multicultural environment successful, it needs first of all to make the people, the individuals, to be multicultural. To communicate in foreign languages, to be tolerant, and to learn as much as they can from other cultures. Just to know that nowadays in European countries, member states, this is still a big issue. I mean, of course, Western societies, they are, how to say, developed in a different framework. But Central and Eastern European societies, some of Central and Eastern European societies, somehow the national politics and the perception of the national policies are how to say, stopping or blocking these very, very simple things, like to communicate in foreign languages, to be tolerant, and to learn as much as they can from other cultures. I'll give you an example. I am in Hungary right now. I am in Hungary since Sunday. Probably you know that starting from 1st of September, Hungary closed its borders. I am a Romanian citizen. Yesterday, I was stopped by the police. Actually, I was driving in the city and I was stopped by the police. And the first thing was, I mean, it's nothing against Hungary, the country or something, and don't misunderstand me. But the first thing what the policeman said, it was, hello, what are you doing here? And I said, I mean, what I am doing here? And his answer was, you have Romanian plates on your car. You are not allowed to be here. And I said, okay, how I'm not allowed? I came here before the restrictions, first of all. Second of all, look, I am here because of this, of this, of this. I can prove it with documents. But he was like not understanding the idea of my existence in Hungary as a Romanian citizen, because he understood only that what we can hear also from the media. Starting from 1st of September, no foreigner can enter Hungary. Do you know what I mean? So these messages somehow are making us, the normal, the average citizen, to be less tolerant and less, and we can understand less the different culture and the different things. Okay, I don't know if the example was right, but anyway. Especially it is important to learn about aspects of nonverbal communication, authority, social organization, negotiation, time perception, modes of interaction. Very, very important, dear students. When you are working in a very different group with people who are respecting a lot their maybe religion, custom, or ethnical identity, they can behave very, very differently. And they can have a very powerful non-verbal communication, but if you don't understand, I mean, somehow the situation can get very uncomfortable. Good. The second ingredient is that the organization company must move from passive phase of recognizing diversity to a kind of an active management of cultural differences, what will provide equal opportunities to all. Exactly what I told you at the beginning. First, for the study case of Romania, first, we had the so-called Balkanic multinational companies. It's not because their headquarters is, I don't know, somewhere from the Balkanic states. German companies which came to Romania, build a headquarters, but they behaved totally different as they behaved in Germany or in other Western European headquarters. Do you know what I mean? Probably yes. Good. Thirdly, a strong organizational culture based on mutual respect, common code with strict behavior and communication rules, and their constant involvement in supporting the management can eliminate many of the possibilities of conflict based on cultural differences. Please always think through your personal, professional, and academic history. For example, when you demonstrated these essential skills. I mean, you can make a small role play back home with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or just friends having a beer. Take these some essential skills what I just presented before, and think about it. Last time when you met somebody who was different, ethnically, race, gender, it doesn't matter how did you act? What was your behavior? Okay, the other process is the civic integration. Short history: in the early 2000s, civic integration policies for immigrants adopted by most Western European states. It was a novelty, or the novelty of the policy is at least twofold. The first one is integration is no longer left to the free play of society's institutions, such as the labor market of education. No. How we integrate, what is the easiest way to integrate? Actually, what we believe is the easiest way to integrate. Through work, yes, through workplaces, and through education. If we have a newcomer in our country, what is the best thing to do? Give him a job, because working in a, in an environment, he will become more and more local. Send their children to school, make them learn our language, so on, and they will become as we are, no, the locals. It's not so simple, unfortunately, but civic integration is focusing in this direction. In this respect, civic integration is equivalent to the, the rise of state-led integration as such. So basically, through civic integration, the state is replacing the previous dominance of the French say laissez-faire, just let it go with the flow, it will be fine, don't worry about them, complemented by many local interventions. So civic integration combines measures that further the integration of immigrants with measures for their selection and control, so that integration and immigration policy are now not longer separate domains. Integration and control functions are under the auspices of civic integration. Okay, there are already some Western European countries who are doing this, but everything started in the Netherlands in 98. Mainly what you need to understand through this civic integration strategy, the formal obligation for immigrants, newcomers. I mean, immigrants is don't understand the immigrant as I don't know what you can see at the television, people from sub-Saharan Africa or Middle East or something. Immigrant can be also a Romanian in Germany or a Turkish in Germany, okay? Anybody who is different and it's coming from outside. We are speaking also about internal immigration, because we have a big internal immigration still between the member states inside the EU, and we have also the outside, the third country, so-called third country immigration, which is coming from outside the EU border. Now, when I use the word immigrant, please understand it for everybody, even for a Romanian in Germany, okay? So not only. The thing is that the civic integration focuses on the formal obligation for immigrants to acquire the language, first of all, very, very important. It's very practical. It's a very practical tool of the whole society, and to familiarize themselves with its political institutions, history, and culture. Yes, I mean, not meeting this obligation will have some consequences, of course, because you need to put all this in a framework, in a legal framework, from losing social benefits to forfeiting one's, or even, how to say, just make them leave the country. If we discuss, and actually we need to discuss about the civil integration as a policy, it occurs in a context of general opening of European societies to recurrent rather than one-shot immigration. So mainly we need to prepare ourselves that more and more people will come, more this, how to say, the so-called migration process, it will be more and more powerful, and societies, member states will need to somehow prepare for this. I mean, you cannot block or stop this process. Those who are, I repeat, this is my opinion and my personal opinion, those who are creating policies through which they try to stop the so-called migration flow and the migration process, they are, how to say, they are just, they are not creating solutions, especially not long-term solutions. They are creating just, how to say, very, very short-term solutions, and mainly the side effects will be much bigger than if you try to implement a strategy for long-term. Civic integration tends to be framed as a retreat from multiculturalism. Of course, if you create this, then you need to make a step back from several multicultural values. Civic integration, particularly in its pre-arrival phase, targets unwanted family immigration from less developed, mostly Muslim countries, which, apart from refugees, has long constituted the biggest chunk of migration into Western Europe. Of course, this can be a kind of a black part of the civic integration strategy or policy. It's not always very human, or especially from the migrant or immigrant point of view. It's not always very human and individual friendly. There are 3 phases: pre-entry, post-entry, and citizenship. Receiving the citizenship. And here is the theory which supports the so-called civic integration. I told you that the concept of civic integration started from the Netherlands, but the theory which supports more and more this policy is coming from Germany. The Fördern und Fordern, if I pronounce it well, support and demand. Yes, support and demand. Further includes measures to quickly integrate refugees into the labor market, and the demand permanent residence permits for recognized refugees also, which had previously been handed to them automatically. Good. After all this being said, I mean, political theory and several other things, I want to be a little bit even more practical. Those who are feeling that they can develop some startup skills and startups and several other things, and you want to be active somehow in this integration process or social process, there are several EU funds which are supporting this, and there is also a big target group for this. So just imagine that you have a target group, 20.8 million people living in the EU from third country nationals. This is 4.1% of the EU's entire population. Speaking about, this is 2017 data. You can check it on the source. There are 35.1 million people living in the EU who were born outside of the European Union. This represents 7% of the EU's entire population. And of course, good. How can you support these people? I mean, of course, we need to be a little bit realistic. Even if you have a very powerful social belief and you want to help, so on, you need to integrate all your, how to say, activity in a kind of economical activity, because your life matters also. I try to present here the financial instruments from which you can ask for money for all these activities. and also to present some examples. I mean, there is more and more important to develop the so-called civil society, and the civil society is composed officially from several things, but mainly where you can have a kind of a market is the NGO market, the market of the NGOs, and the civil society enhancing their capacity to develop, implement, monitor, and evaluate integration strategies, policies, and measures. There are several NGOs who are basically helping the member states. I mean, doing all this job. And I believe the best example was in 2016 and in 2017. More than 120 million euros were spent from EU funds. For example, in Germany, Lithuania, and France and Italy also, creating consultation centers for non-EU migrants. This money was invested fully in NGOs, I mean non-governmental organizations, which were trying to how to say to help the state in integration of the so-called different, not migrant, the different. Also, I have some basic information here about somehow the project management. I don't know how familiar you are with the project management issues and problems. First of all, if you want to use European money, you need to search. I mean, you need to figure out an idea, and after that, you need to fit your idea in the actual offer of the EU. And this actual offer, we can call it as calls of proposals. Yes, there are several calls under several financial instruments where you can try to fit your idea. If you find the right source of financing, after that you can develop it forward, and it's a must to develop it in a way that you should be eligible, not only your organization, also every activity what you plan to implement your idea, it should be eligible. This is very important. Peter, as the project manager of our consortium, I'm sure that he's having this word in his mind 24/7. Eligibility, always to be eligible. Also, then you need to create and to develop the project management skills to implement the project. Very important to focus on the co-financing rules. Mainly, the EU does not grant 100% funding for projects. Its contribution is understood as financial support, and depending on the program, the applicant has to contribute between 25 or 5% of the project cost by their own resources or through other non-EU funds. This is crucial when you are setting up a project budget. But over this official, own contribution, dear students, also at the startups and every other business what you want to start, you need to calculate the cash flow. I mean, even if the EU or other public or private bodies helping you to start your economical activity, they are very, very less who are giving you money in advance. So mainly you will need to calculate with your cash flow, which will assure that you can implement permanently your activities. And after these activities were implemented, you can prove it and ask for the money. Do you know what I mean? I hope that it's clear. So please always, when you are doing any business plan or something, please focus also on the cash flow. This is very, very important. Project partners and EU added value, very important. It's very important to choose partners and work together with others. Shared or direct management. The EU funds are offering you two different management types, the shared or the direct management, directly managed by the European Commission. There are some program examples. There are much more, but I gave you some programs in the context of how to say integration. Yes, shared management. You can see the bodies with who we are doing the shared management. Applications are assessed in the member states. Give you an example, our SmartSoc project. Yes, we all say that it's a European project. Of course, it's a European project. It's financed by the European Union through the Erasmus Plus program, and there is also an agency who is focusing on this. But the money is given by the national authority from Slovakia. Yes, from the national authority from Slovakia. Our leader is reporting. Is making the reports, the yearly reports, to their national agency from Slovakia, and the national agency from Slovakia will decide, yes, Peter and Istvan and the others, you did a good job, you received the money or not. And based on these approvals, the EU will fund our activities for the next year and the third year and so on, so on. Conclusions. Civic integration policies evidently are not all of one cloth, but it is misleading to see them as fortification or mere prolongation of nationally distinct ways of dealing with integration and citizenship. Also, civic integration is a new national level policy that rests on a critique of multiculturalism as furthering segregation and group separation. Still, civic integration is mostly within a liberal register. It does not mark a return to cultural assimilation. Please always remember that diversity and multiculturalism is not just in a reference to a person's race or religion. It includes traditions, thoughts, perspectives as well. And it's very important to show, communicate through your behavior, the future hiring manager, that you demonstrate the respect and the views and the sensitivity to those who may be different than you. Here is the bibliography, and even if I sometimes I was not very explicit, but I'm in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Istvan. And you used 9 minutes less. I know you started later, but okay, thank you very much.
No, actually, hopefully I will have questions also, like Mate had, no?
I would like to ask, yes, I have a question. I would like to ask you, said you had some, how to say, meeting with Hungarian policeman.
Yes, yesterday.
And I expect that he asked you in Hungarian, not English.
Of course, because everybody's Hungarian and everybody speaks Hungarian. I mean,
yes, it will be same in Slovakia. If a policeman will stop you, he will start to speak in Slovak.
I had the same.
If you come to Germany, he will speak probably German. I don't know if he will see I am from Slovakia. He will try to speak English. For sure, he will not speak Slovak. So this is another dimension of this our world. So please, another questions, and feel free to have a copy.
Just a sec. Let me add something what you said. The difference. I mean, look, I am a Hungarian ethnically speaking. I am Romanian from citizenship point of view. Of course, I am also Central and Eastern European, so on. So I can identify and define myself from several point of view. And of course, over all this, I am local patriot, yes? But the difference between the Hungarian, Slovakian, Romanian policeman and the German or the Spanish, because we see Carmen also, is the willingness. That is the only difference. A Hungarian or a Slovakian or Romanian has no willingness to understand you or to try to communicate in your language or somehow to explain in a normal way what is going on. This is my experience. A German or a Spanish will try to communicate with you, not in English or in Spanish or in German, will try to communicate in a way that you You, the citizen, should understand that you did something wrong, or you need to be careful for something. I mean, it's more, it's not only the legal framework, it's also the social behavior. Do you know what I mean? This is the only difference. So they are not better or worse as individuals, as humans. The school, the educational background is making the difference still.
Okay, thank you.